Welcome to the Hidden Why podcast, episode 1070. This is my interview with Darja Gutnick discussing Bunch AI, an AI leadership coaching platform. Enjoy. Hello, Darja. Welcome to the Hidden Why pod. Great to have you here today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
No, that's cool. You've got a bit of an interesting background, but what I'm really fascinated by is this, I suppose, leadership platform called Bunch that you're a part of. Tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, I'm a co-founder there, co-founded this with one other social scientist that wants to change the world and a few engineers and product people and designers. And we are building an AI coach to help professionals around the world to step up at work and kind of have this ally in the workplace that they can go to when they have struggles and triggering moments, whether it being giving feedback to your boss that you don't know how to phrase, or if it's a conflict with a coworker, or if you're not getting enough recognition. So all those typical moments that we all know from the workplace, and we've had plenty of, I think, given the economical situation. We want to build a tool for every professional out there and kind of basically bringing the power of a coach to everyone in the workplace. That's kind of the idea behind Bunch.
Okay. Fascinating to use AI for now coaching. I mean, I've heard a lot of different, new AI tech that's coming through to help people in their work lives or personal lives even. How do we come up with this idea?
This was actually a super interesting journey. It's like, it wasn't as straightforward as one might think, like sometimes people look at startups and they're like, you probably sat in a garden and one day this rained on you, and it's not how it happens, of course. So we always wanted to build something that helps people at work collaborate better and kind of work through conflicts and weird issues in a different way. So my background is psychology, and I also am a leadership coach. And my co-founder is a social scientist who studied conflict resolution, actually. And so we both had the feeling that there's lots of dysfunctional dynamics and behavior in the workplace still, and there are lots of conflicts that actually are not productive. And when we worked with people through, workshops and kind of the older formats in the beginning of our careers, we noticed that people do improve, of course. Like, the more mature you become, the more you improve your emotional intelligence and your social skills, the easier these situations become, and they actually become opportunities for growth. And we really were passionate about basically changing that kind of field, so to say. But at the same time, we were, as I mentioned in the beginning of our careers, however, we were trained by kind of, people that do organizational development, leadership development with flip charts and workshops. And nowadays it's webinars, of course, but it still felt really old fashioned. And when we started working with kind of more, junior people that were kind of the new wave and the new generation in the workplace, they were rightfully asking for shorter formats and a more gamified experience and kind of this feeling of having someone with you at all times, rather than having these sporadic, one-off type of trainings, one and done, because it doesn't stick. You can't remember it. The thing you need in the moment doesn't come to you just because you heard it 6 weeks ago in some workshops, right? So we had this idea of actually kind of scaling a coach. But at the same time, we didn't believe that a consultancy is the business model to go with that. So we saw that, working hours and work days are getting longer. It's really difficult to sign off. So we just opposed this idea of kind of, employing, an army of consultants and try to make shift systems so that we can be there for everyone. And eventually, after I think a year or so operating as a consultancy, we decided we will make this a product company, and we will try to attempt the impossible, which is basically replace a coach with a tech-enabled version of a coach to go as far as possible. So we don't think that we replace coaches altogether. That would be completely not meaningful. But we also know that the majority of people out there don't have access to a coach. They can't afford it. The company doesn't provide it. They may be self-employed. And we want it to be there for everyone else, basically, for the 80% of the working population that doesn't have access to coaching. And we wanted to achieve that with technology and a digital product, basically. That's kind of how it happened.
So how long has Bunch been up and operating for now?
So the product as it is today is 2 years in the market, and we started developing it a few months before. So like 2020 was a COVID baby.
And what's the adoption been like?
So we have 70,000 signups, so users that have tried us out, and we just launched our premium version in December, actually, and that's growing quite nicely. So our membership, premium membership growth rate is 100% month over month currently. So we're doubling our membership numbers. So quite nicely adopting, actually. And what we're really excited about, actually, is this GPT integration that we've been working on for the past 2.5 weeks. So from the beginning of the year, more or less. And we're really, really hyped. Our first testing premium users are really excited about interacting with the ChatGPT powered assistant coach. And it kind of adds a really nice, very interactive experience on the core experience that we already had in the app. So hopefully we'll see even better adoption rates in the future with that.
It's quite amazing. So you just mentioned there actually that the workdays are getting longer. Is that right?
I think if you look at the times that people work and spend in front of screens in particular, yes, that's true. I think it kind of, there is some counter trends, so to say. So like, I don't know if you've heard already, but in the US and Maryland, for instance, there is considerations to introduce like the 4-day work week now. So I think we have some trends that go kind of against that, but the overall work day increased, I think, by 40 minutes or something like that on average in the past 2 to 3 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. 4-day work weeks, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
It's actually pretty good. So we don't have that yet, but we tested, or we are actually currently still testing every second Friday off. We call it pit stop days. So basically days to recharge, take care of stuff that, you can't take care of during the week. And for us, it works really well. I think it really depends on the context in which you're working and the rhythm. And because we're a startup and we're kind of much more comparable to, I would say, a sports team than a company pretty much, because we have these very kind of, fast-paced periods where we are working towards a goal, like right now, for instance. And then we also have periods where things are a bit quieter. And in order to maintain energy and performance in those periods where things are quite hectic, we introduce these days because we noticed like you just can't go that fast for like, unlimited amounts of time. And like 2 days in a weekend, it really isn't that much. In Europe in particular, where we also have a lot of engineering talent, you actually also don't have like shops open, etc. on Sunday. So it's kind of like a good resting day, but you can't really take care of a lot of things. And so we noticed that our team just works really, really hard. And it was kind of a very logical conclusion, to be honest, for both Anthony and me to say, we have to give them more, like as coaches, we need to give this team more resting time, just because they're not like, they're so excited about what they're building and so on, like they're not planning enough resting time themselves. And so we kind of introduced that. And I can see how that's going to probably evolve in a 4-day work week eventually. I think we're kind of on the way there. But I'm really curious to see how a governmental body like the state of Maryland literally introduces it across the board and gives tax incentives to companies that adopt it. I think that's pretty, unique. I don't think that has happened yet worldwide.
No, it's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it'll roll out. So whereabouts are you based?
So we are like a transatlantic team in some ways. So we have some people on the East Coast in the US, and we have some people in Europe. And in Europe, it's Paris, Berlin, Zagreb, and Belgrade. Okay,
so your team of coaches, I mean, it uses AI basically for that coaching purpose now, doesn't it? Is that how it works?
Exactly. So we have a cross-functional team. So we have coaches, we have writers, we have a designer, we have product people, we have kind of product growth marketer, and we have engineers, of course, and like different kinds, mobile engineers and backend engineering and so on. So it's a really, like it takes a village to put this together. And we also work with a community of experts that stands behind the content. So we are not actually we produce the content in-house, but we are not actually writing content from scratch, but we use frameworks, templates, ideas, insights, and kind of like process hacks from existing operators. So people that have been in the industry for a long time, that have been leading teams for a long time, but also authors, workfluencers. So anyone who can basically kind of prove credibility in their niche and in their community, we either approach or they can also apply, and we basically include them in our content production process. So it's not only the internal team, actually, it really does take many villages to put this together.
How does the AI work? Because, I mean, does it scour the internet and use resources automatically and send that back as leadership tools? Is it that advanced?
Kind of, like it's not entirely off. One could imagine it like this, just that it doesn't happen in real time. So because maybe before I go there, it can't happen like this, because when you learn, and the idea behind Bunch is not, or the principles behind Bunch are not only around leadership and kind of AI, but like actually have to do a lot with how we learn and how we consume information. So one of the counterpoints that we made to kind of the traditional forms of professional learning is that we don't necessarily believe that long-form learning is the only or the best way to consume relevant insights and content. So we proposed an alternative format, which is basically a 2-minute-a-day format. So it's a bite-sized session. Mm-hmm. And it's interactive. It has content components, but it is highly interactive. So it kind of like, if you're familiar with this language learning app Duolingo, so it kind of has a lot of that appeal or like that feeling. And so we can't really just scour the internet and then, plug like long form webinars or podcasts or articles in there, because you're on your phone, you're between meetings, you have no time. You don't really have the time to dive into each of those long form formats and kind of like dig out the nuggets. So we do that for you. So we have an in-house internal process that basically dissects something that has been shared in a longer form article, for instance, into something that actually can be consumed into minutes, but also is very actionable. So like results in an actual step you can take, and you can take it like right now and today. And basically we do that constantly. So we build out our library, we continuously grow it. It's an ongoing process. Content creation is basically kind of our bread and butter. So we do it all the time with the experts, with our community of users and so on. And basically we have 2 AI components. So what we've done so far, before GPT-3 became kind of like mass adopted, let's say, over the month of December and January.
What is this? Sorry, what's that platform?
ChatGPT or GPT-3. Yeah, so like it's haven't you heard about it? It's like all the talk.
I may have heard about it. I may have, but just confirm.
Like LinkedIn is full of it, basically. It's OpenAI's like machine learning language model. So it's an interactive language-based machine learning algorithm that allows you to basically do whatever you need to do with text. So yeah, like you can ask anything you want to the ChatGPT interface, and it gives you answers. Like you can tell it things like, write me a LinkedIn article about the future of education, or you can ask it to write an email to your friend, or whatever you want to have done. And basically that's called prompting. And then the better your prompt is, the more context the language model has, the better the output will be. And it's often like very difficult to recognize what has been actually done by a human versus what has been done by ChatGPT. And that's kind of all the rave on the internet right now, that you can't actually differentiate when somebody writes an essay, is it ChatGPT or is it a student? And you can't recognize with blog articles and things like that, has it been actually done by a human or by ChatGPT? So
crazy.
This model has been around for a long time. Like OpenAI, this company, I think Elon Musk is involved in it, has been developing language models for, I think, the past 4 years or so, or maybe even 5. Yeah. And this field of science is actually very old, from like the 80s. So language-based machine learning algorithms the idea is very old. But what has happened in the past 2 months is they have made it mass appealing. So like they basically worked so much on the user experience. It's very fast. It talks like a human. It barely like kind of gets stuck. Like you can't really break it much. You can actually really interact with it like with a human. And so what changed for us is, and before we were, as I mentioned, working with recommendation technology. So we had this kind of first pillar of our machine learning algorithm, which was basically recommending the right type of content and the right piece of content at the right time for each user individually. But nowadays that everyone is used to this like chat interaction, and we can tap into OpenAI's API as well. You kind of have this additional component that really talks to you. So using Bunch right now is not only anymore a content-based journey with like personalized content picked for you on a daily basis. It also has this very personalized feeling to like having a coach in your pocket, actually, that you can ask any question at any given moment in time, and it works through the issue with you. So it really does coaching. We use like coaching models, so to say, to train it and give it context. And at the same time, it points you to Bunch content. So it gives you these actionable templates and the frameworks kind of fitting to the challenge that you're currently going through.
Yeah, I was playing around that ChatGPT yesterday, actually, for the first time. So it's quite an interesting platform.
Nice.
I do wonder how the AI can distinguish if it's grabbing information from the internet, is how accurate the information is going to be.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, there's also this phenomenon of like hallucinating. It's called, so like when the AI actually makes things up and they're like not really true. And it kind of says so, like it actually, if you ask like how accurate is information you provide, it gives you this answer of like, oh, it's mostly accurate, like 80% or so. But then there are like these few cases where I'm not 100% sure. And like, it may happen that I hallucinate something and I'm like, make something up without noticing it. So that's definitely a problem. And it's a limitation of the technology. Which is why when we actually started building on top of our library, that's what I mentioned with like, we don't have like real-time access to, let's say, Google, where if you enter a specific problem, we fall back on our library of content. And that is good because it is completely like research content and actually validated content and owned content and like content that has been produced with experts. Yeah.
Okay. So with your platform, is it more suitable for leaders or employees or sort of both?
That's a great question too, because it kind of depends what the definition of leader is, right?
Okay. What's the definition of leader?
Of course, we focus mostly on managers because the kind of challenges, I think, are plenty, and the content fits really well. But we have about 30% team members actually on the platform as well. And we define leadership quite broadly. So we don't necessarily see leadership as a synonym to management. So you don't have to be a kind of formal manager in order to show leadership behaviors or to behave like a leader. What we understand under leadership basically is the impact, like you are a leader if you're impacting yourself and others in a positive way.
Yeah.
So it can be any type of behavior in a situation, like, if your team gets stuck with a discussion and you kind of point out, hey, should we go back to the agenda, or should we like kind of be mindful of time, wrap it up here and then focus on this new topic? That means most probably you're leading in that moment. So we really look at leadership as a situational, behavioral type of construct. And so the idea behind it really is to empower individuals at work to step up, to take steps forward in a way to like basically, impact and influence themselves and others around them in a good and positive way. And we provide tools to doing so. And of course, that often leads to more recognition, more responsibility that these individuals are given, promotion opportunities, and so on.
Do you find, because I totally agree with that definition of leaders, I think we're all leaders because we all have a role to lead our lives, and that often is
that's true. Totally.
dependent on relationships, and that's a fact of life. So do you find the information provided in the platform, like the 2 minutes and if it's a day, really handy for the workplace, but is it also handy for just everyday life, do you think?
I think in some ways it definitely is. I think also, though, we are producing it with this like very, kind of sharp focus on work life. And we do want to serve particular use cases. So in product development, and specifically in digital and like mobile product development, it's really crucial that you kind of try to, tackle segment by segment. So like find one specific like group of people that have a shared problem space. So like they kind of run into similar problems and you solve those problems for them. And then you kind of move on to the next group of people, so to say. So we're still relatively early. As I mentioned, we started out like 2 years ago, and we are still very much focused on managers in, let's say, very collaborative and kind of cross-functional context. So a lot of it is tech, but not only. We also have just a traditional classic like corporate type of people. We also have a few blue collar people that have to lead teams, build teams. We have lots of NGO type of managers. And it's interesting, they like, as long as they share use cases. So as long as they're struggling with, let's say, managing their manager, communicating with their colleagues, time management and kind of procrastination, things like that. So like, as long as they're like shared topics, it's really not so much about the, official role or title. But I do think that the content is really kind of focused on that. Now, that being said, we have had users coming to us and saying they apply tips with their partner and they apply tips with their parents and things like this. So like, I think when it comes to communication, it's, like you communicate differently, of course, in the workplace than you do privately. But when you have struggles, there is a common root cause. And if you try to solve for that root cause in, let's say, the work context, chances are you also improve in your personal life and vice versa. So it's not like as black and white, of course.
Yeah. So can you give us an example of what a 2-minute tip may look like, or how someone might use that and integrate it?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like, I'm actually literally pulling it up now. Let's see what
so this is just a daily thing on your app that's come through?
Exactly. So I actually have how to actually unplug when I'm on vacation today. I'm not on vacation. However, one of my team members is going on vacation next week. So this is actually really fitting. I'm going to forward it to her. Also, a very common use case actually is kind of like managers and peers in the workplace that then see something that is actually fitting in the context around them. But you kind of have so it's based on this person, Brigitte Schulte, director at Better Life Lab. So there is an expert behind it, and it basically kind of gives you 3 steps on how to actually make sure you can unplug on vacation. And the first step is create a list of key projects and tasks that you kind of need to hand over or manage throughout that time. Block time out to hand over work, which many people, I think, forget and don't count in and get like into this frenzy at the last day. And then organize catch-ups in advance. And then it basically walks you really through like a quick tappable kind of Instagram story type of format through these 3 points and tells you how to do that. For instance, when you create the list of key projects and tasks, you kind of have to just like make a list of all projects that you're working on, write down the progress you expect to make for each one and next steps, and identify owners for each. And then in the handover, you kind of talk with everyone. So it's really designed to be, like immediately applicable. And if you are going on vacation or a colleague, they kind of go through this and they're like, oh, I can totally do that right now. And then I'll feel better when I'm on vacation because I feel like I handled this. So yeah, it's really like practical and hands-on.
Fairly simple. Yeah. So you can share that with people. I suppose you can search, like if you're thinking about going on holiday and your article for the day is not related, you could just jump in there and say holiday and find something related.
Totally. And as the longer you use the app, the more relevant the content gets, right? Like when you onboard the app, you basically, we create a work style profile of you. So we have a mini like psychological assessment in the beginning with 10 questions that creates a profile. So I'm, for instance, the maker. and it gives you a little bit about yourself. So I'm like very collaborative and adaptable and so on. And we base the recommendations based on that, but also on your role and also the topics you're interested in and how you interact with the tip. So like if you, let's say, complete your tip, or whether you like save it, whether you abandon it, so you open one but you don't finish it, like all of that influences what type of content you are getting in the future.
Okay, so it starts to learn who you are, what you're interested in, what your struggles are, and
exactly.
retargets
And then
there.
You have, of course, exactly, and you have, of course, the library that you can also search. And as I mentioned, now with ChatGPT, it's actually super easy. You can also just tap ask a coach, start writing a message and say like, I am having meetings that run over all the time. What can I do now? And then it kind of like gives you maybe ask like a few, like one or two follow-up questions, gives you a few resources, helps you clarify questions about how to apply them and so on. So yeah, many ways to unlock the wisdom, I would say.
So Bunch integrates with ChatGPT.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we've been working on for the past 2-3 weeks with the team. And it's really was amazing to see how quickly we actually pulled this off. And I think it goes to say how easy OpenAI's API really is in the technology, how far it is, because we really were able to, kind of build an AI agent, a persona on top of what we already have created. So of course we have a brand and, like a tone of voice in the app that kind of our users are used to. So we needed to take that piece of technology that OpenAI provides and not only train it all the things that Bunch knows, so like the library and what you know about each user, but at the same time also train the tone of voice and the personality and how to interact with the user and how to coach. I mean, ChatGPT can tell you how coaching looks like, or like what the steps of coaching are. If you go and say like, what is a coaching process like or so, but it doesn't typically coach you. So in order to really make it into like a persona of some type, or like, let's say you would make ChatGPT into like an engineer or something, you would still need to train it quite a lot. You would need to give it like a lot of context on identity and context and how it communicates, how it interacts, tone of voice, and so on. So we've done a lot of that work over the past days, and it's going live next week. So it's really exciting, actually. And we've had the first testers on it today.
So where do you see the future of Bunch? Where do you see it heading?
I mean, it's kind of the same vision that we've had from the beginning of the journey, I would say. It's really bringing the power of a coach to the 100%, assuming that it's only a very little percentage that has access to it as of today. And we are planning, we have big plans for this year. So we want to grow to 250, 300,000 users. We want to grow to 5,000 premium members. And of course, also, just like mature all systems and kind of get from a 10 people team into like a bit more of a business setup. But overall, I think we are done when everyone can actually make a dent in the universe. So we're really, really after every professional out there. And like, we want to be that force or that tool that you really call your kind of secret weapon in many ways when it comes to work, growth, professional growth, career progression, and so on.
Okay. I know you said it's not going to replace coaches necessarily, leadership coaches, but do you think there's a chance that they'll become less necessary with the likes of Bunch and other perhaps similar platforms?
I don't think so. I think that what we need from coaches more than ever is insights, knowledge, and wisdom, because again, the AI we have today at the very least is very good at low-level tasks, what we call it. So like, even if you think, I mean, it's pretty impressive that it can talk with you and it feels like a human, right? But at the same time, it's literally just plugging together information and applies a set of questions that coaches have been, iterating on for many years at this point. Like, I think anything that is highly complex and creative or in high levels of ambiguity is still going to be very hard for AI. So I think the role of a coach will change and transform into more of a creator. So like, I think we will see more and more coaches training AI and inputting their knowledge into databases and productizing it rather than kind of delivering it in a one-on-one conversation. I definitely think coaches will need to become much, much more of a creator persona than they are today. But I also am really excited about this because first, a lot of people know a lot of things in this world, but not many people have access to it. And I think we will see an increase in impact for each of those coaches. So they will be able to just reach more people without needing to become these like crazy marketing machines, that I think many coaches struggle with. Like they do it, they are on LinkedIn, they're on Twitter or in other places because they have to, but they don't really enjoy it. And I think that having AI in between will allow every coach to have a kind of a more calmer approach to content production because they can literally just write things out, put things in, and then AI can help modularize it and personalize it to each person's taste instead of the poor coach needing to do the coaching plus then also needing to do the marketing strategy plus thinking about how they communicate to all these different stakeholders and these audiences. And I think it was a pretty, stressful way how to pull up a coaching existence, to be honest, in the past. And I am really excited to see that it actually will kind of extend their insight and extend their knowledge and impact. I think what's really interesting is, and this is what's entirely unclear right now, how do we incentivize creators in this new world of ChatGPT and Google's AI that comes out now? Because if they're actually pulling together resources and people are not going to these original, profiles, websites, and so on, how do these people actually still get leads? How do they get website traffic? And that's, I think, a big question for me. I think the business model behind it is entirely unclear.
Yeah, interesting. So best place is bunch.ai. Is that how people can go find out more about it, join in?
Sure. I mean, that's always, of course, easy. If you want to try out the app, I recommend going to the App Store and really just look for Bunch Work or Bunch Leadership, Bunch Coach.
Okay. Yep.
And you'll see a black and green logo. That's the place to be. And download the app. It's free. We have a premium version, but you can totally also use the free version. There's a free trial too. So we really encourage to check it out and give us feedback. But otherwise on LinkedIn, I think we're really active as well. And there's lots of free content that we're posting as well, which is useful.
That's so cool. No, really good to chat with you today, Darja. And I appreciate your time coming on the show.
Yeah, super cool. Thanks so much for having me.
Guys, you can check it all out at thehiddenwhy.com. Until next time, peace, passion, and purpose. See you soon. Thanks, guys, for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed what you heard. I hope you love what you're hearing. If you like this episode, guys, or any of the episodes that you're listening to here at The Hidden Why, please do me a favor by sharing it. You can share it with your families. You can share it with your loved ones. You can do that by using your favorite social media channels, using the icons on the platform that you're listening to The Hidden Why podcast. Also, guys, if you're a fan of the show, please connect with me. Connect with me at thehiddenwhy.com. I love to hear from you. I love to converse with the people that listen to this show to find out what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, and perhaps if they have any questions or feedback for the show as well. You can stay up to date with all that I'm releasing here, guys. I do a solo show every Monday, a 3-minute thought every Thursday. I do 2 interviews a week on a Wednesday and a Saturday, and a book review every Friday. You can stay up to date with all that by subscribing to my newsletter at thehiddenwhy.com. Just enter your email address there, and also subscribing to the podcast on the platform that you choose to listen to your podcasts. You can also support the show, guys, by using the Amazon links at thehiddenwhy.com. So if you like books, you can get all the books that I review there, and anything else really that you like to purchase through Amazon. So use that link, it helps support the show. And we've also got a deal with Audible, guys. Audible is a fantastic way to listen to all your favorite books. We've got a deal with them so you can get 2 free books when you subscribe subscribe to a 30-day free trial. So check that out again at thehiddenwhy.com. Guys, that's it from me. You know what to do. Go out there, breathe more passion into every single moment. Do everything with greater purpose, and in doing so you will discover your hidden why. This is The Hidden Why. My name is Lee Martinuzzi. Until next time, peace, passion, and purpose. See you soon.